When it comes to criticism of modern art styles, I think one of the most ridiculous is the term CalArts Style. This made-up term is often used in a derogatory manner to insult Western animation styles in the modern age, but it does not hold water when you look at its origins and the shows and films it's used to deride. More often than not, I see the term CalArts Style used by people who think there's no worthwhile animation nowadays. But what was the origin of the term? Well, it started from a blog post by Ren and Stimpy creator John Kricfalusi. Along with his now well-known predatory behavior, Kricfalusi has a reputation for having a very narrow-minded view of animation and insulting anything that does not conform to his ideas of the medium. In a blog post from 2010, John K. used films like The Iron Giant and The Emperor's New Groove as examples of a CalArts style in animation. He accused artists and character designers working on animated features in the 90s of just copying the 9 Old Men, and put particular blame on the school California Institute of the Arts, otherwise known as CalArts. This is all rather rich, coming from someone who so desperately tried to follow in Bob Clampett's footsteps. In the years since that blog post, CalArts style has since morphed into a way to insult any art style a person doesn't like, and especially as a way to complain about modern animated shows. It also comes from this idea that the teachers at CalArts instruct the animation students there to draw a specific way, which is ridiculous. It's not like the students don't know how to draw, and then when they graduated, they started drawing the same. This is a prestigious art school, with the students already being good at drawing when they were accepted. And there are even fantastic character designers working in the animation industry who did not get into CalArts. There's this notion some people have that every animated show looks the same now, which is not the least bit accurate. I've actually made this point before in my defense of modern character designers, so I'm going to replay a clip from that video. Do the characters on Regular Show and BoJack Horseman look the same? What about Harvey Girls Forever and Adventure Time? Milo Murphy's Law and Steven Universe? DuckTales and Archibald's Next Big Thing? As you can see, there's a lot more diversity in art styles now than you realize, and animation has evolved to accommodate these different perspectives. Listen, I love cartoons from the 1920s and 1930s, but let's be honest, a lot of them featured characters with similar designs. We don't insult the creators of Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Bosco, and Bimbo though, nor accuse them of going to the same art school. And we shouldn't, although animation pioneer Winsor McCay once complained about the modern state of animation at a dinner held in his honor in 1927. So people criticizing current animation styles is as old as the art form itself. Notable shows often derided for having a CalArts style are She-Ra, the Princess of Power, The Amazing World of Gumball, and Steven Universe. However, Noelle Stevenson never went to CalArts and created her breakout webcomic Nimona in her junior year. So she already had her own distinct art style long before graduating and eventually getting hired to develop She-Ra. Steven Universe creator Rebecca Sugar similarly did not go to that school. Meanwhile, The Amazing World of Gumball was created by artists in Europe, far away from CalArts. Yet you often see these shows grouped together, as if the same people were responsible and draw the exact same way. Interesting enough, people were not in a hurry to say Pixar films had a CalArts style, even though several of the directors who made films there, including John Lasseter, Andrew Stanton, Pete Docter, Brad Bird, and Peter Sohn, are CalArts alumni. However, when the first stills for Luca and the studio's next film, Turning Red, were released, commentators bemoaned that Pixar was now using the CalArts style. The irony? Neither film is directed by someone who went to CalArts. In fact, Enrico Casarosa and Domi Shi have cited the films of Studio Ghibli as the biggest influences on their work. We should be celebrating the fact that Pixar is now experimenting with their in-house style. People will say that when they refer to CalArts style, they are talking about characters with a specific head shape, namely characters, often children, where the bottom half of their heads are oval-shaped. However, artists have been drawing children like that long before CalArts was founded. Look at Marge's Little Lulu, for example. One of my favorite comic book artists is Mauricio de Souza, creator of the Monica's Gang comics. His character started out with a flatter triangular head shape before eventually evolving into something more oval-shaped. One of the most insulting things people say when talking about this particular character design is saying that it's just the production team being cheap and lazy, and I don't think they're aware of the hard work that goes into creating characters of animation. It's not a case of the artist scribbling a couple of doodles on a sheet of paper and calling it a day. These characters go through so many versions before the final design ends up on the screen. The designers also have to draw every single character in multiple poses and expressions as reference for the animators. There's so much evolution and preparation, even after a show has been released. Have you ever noticed that characters sometimes look different in the pilot, or even the first few episodes from their later appearances? The pilot for Steven Universe is a perfect example of this, as Rebecca Sugar continued to tweak the characters in the series. Or look at The Simpsons. The Tracy Ullman Show shorts made the family look very different from how they looked on the series. And even after The Simpsons television series made it to air, the artists and animators were still fiddling around with them. What seems to get the most ire is when pre-existing characters are brought back in a new show. You especially saw this with She-Ra, Powerpuff Girls, and Thundercats Roar. But even the new Mickey Mouse, DuckTales, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles shows had detractors who disliked the look of the characters. And I just want to say, it's okay for characters to be given new coats of paint. Quite a number of my favorite properties have been retooled and altered with each new appearance, and that's okay. I actually find it interesting when a new creator decides to put their own stamp on a property. It's all part of their evolution, and it does not erase the earlier versions. Most of the time, they can even introduce the classic version to a new generation. How many children learned about Harvey Comics after Netflix premiered Harvey Stray Kids? How many wanted to watch the 80s Ninja Turtles cartoon after watching the 2012 or 2018 television series? Probably a lot. The final thing I want to say regarding the so-called CalArts Style is that I don't entirely understand why those oval-shaped characters with the bean-shaped mouths generate such anger. Why? Because I think that design looks cute and quite charming. Have you ever watched the Netflix show Hilda? That series is the definition of adorable. A lot of the shows that have this type of design also have really fluid animation. Hilda and Gravity Falls have some of the best animation I've ever seen in a television series. Even looking beyond the characters, the background details and effects animation look amazing. What I tend to notice about people who refer to something as having a CalArts style is that they talk about the good old days and want animation to return to what it was like when they were children. Probably not realizing that a lot of those Disney movies or Cartoon Network shows they speak so fondly of were conceived by artists who went to CalArts. I love many animated shows and shorts and movies I watched in my youth, but animation cannot evolve and move forward if it stays stuck in the past. I really dislike the idea that animation has to look like this or animation has to look like that, because the beauty of the art form is there are no rules. You can make it look cute or ugly, detailed or simple, realistic or overly cartoony. Though the truth is, it's highly likely that children today who are watching and enjoying Teen Titans Go and Steven Universe and Hilda will then grow up and hate how cartoons in 2041 are going to look. It's an unfortunate cycle and the ugly side of nostalgia. Remember that just because something is new and different does not make it bad. See you next time.